Good morning. This is my edited research article video. This morning I will be talking about 5 of the articles that I critiqued over the semester. The first one is the long legacy of childhood verbal abuse. This article was written by Peg Streep, and it deals with the lasting effects that verbal abuse have had on children who are now adults. There are quotes from many people that she's interviewed that suffered from verbal abuse and how they overcame it. She lists several articles, books, and journals in the many aspects of verbal abuse that she looks at. Some of the topics that she covered is what science knows about verbal abuse, how verbal abuse changes the developing brain, the close connection between physical and emotional pain, the psychological impact of verbal abuse and family dynamics, and recovering from childhood verbal abuse in adulthood. In each of these sections, she talks about people who have suffered from verbal abuse and how their experiences tied into what that particular section was about. One person stated that they always knew hitting was bad, but they never really registered that the harsh words and verbal abuse that they were receiving was bad as well. All they knew was that they were never allowed to be angry. A man named Roy Baumeister said, "Bad is stronger than good." Streep stated, "Humans are hardwired to pay more and faster attention to potentially dangerous or negative possibilities for evolutionary reasons that are pretty clear. We store that information in a part of the brain that makes it much more accessible." This article was very emotionally hard to read, but just looking at the words on the page, it was very clear and precise to the point. It was just very hard to hear how people have been affected by this and how horrible that these people were treated. The next article is my personal favorite. It is the method behind the magic of a beloved preschool teacher. Melissa Scher wrote this article, and she wrote this about her two sons' preschool teacher. As far as teacher stereotypes go, especially that of a preschool teacher, Adrian did not fit any of them. Melissa said that she's barely 5 feet tall, has 11 tattoos, a lip ring, glasses, dresses in blue jeans and Star Wars t-shirts, and checkerboard print Vans. That's not a typical preschool teacher outfit. However, she's dressed in however she does not fit the physical preschool teacher stereotype. She makes up for it in how she treats her kids. This woman, Cher said, was phenomenal and did everything for her kids that she possibly could. One of the most important things that she did on that day that the author shadowed her is prepare her students, her preschool students, for an upcoming earthquake drill. She told her students what was going to happen and asked if anyone was nervous. When a few kids kind of looked worried and nodded, she said, "Is it okay to feel nervous?" essentially. And her kids nod. And she wanted to show them that it's okay to be scared occasionally because life is sometimes scary. And at the end of the day, the author asked her what she wanted for her kids as they left her classroom and went into kindergarten. And the thing that Adrian said was she wanted her kids to be kind, wanted them to be walking down the hall, and if they saw a stranger drop something, to stop and pick it up and hand it back to them, and just be kind to everyone and treat everyone with respect. The third article is 5 ways to help misbehaving kids. This article was written by Stuart Shanker, and it focuses on the importance of understanding the science of stress in children. He addressed 5 steps to help parents deal with problematic behavior or anxiety in their children caused by stress. They were recognizing when your children are overstressed, identifying the stressor in your children's lives, reducing those stressors, helping your children find calming strategies that work for them, and taking a long-term perspective of it. And these steps, according to Shanker, will help reduce stress for everyone, not just children. I thought this article overall was really interesting. It's a very sad reality that many children and adolescents face today. College students like me, for example, we struggle to juggle jobs, nutrition, fitness, schoolwork, social events. I personally teach a Bible class at church, so I'm trying to juggle that with homework and finals, especially this week and Monday. And sometimes it's hard, even high school students. I have 2 sisters in high school, and they're trying to juggle some of the same things. They play basketball and they run cross country, and one of them is taking, I think, 2 AP classes. So it's, we are stressed a lot, and it's an incredibly hard task to undertake, dealing with stress. And there are many who fail at this and turn to unhealthy ways to try and deal with it. They drink, or they smoke, or they turn to drugs. Overall, while this was a relatively long article, it was extremely important and relatable to the world of child development and our world today. The fourth article is the power of parental influence in child development. This article was very interesting to me as well. Dr. Gail Gross wrote this article on how the influence of parents work in their children's lives and work on how they turn out as adults. She said there are 3 questions that parents ask her most of all. They are, what can I possibly do as a parent to influence my child's IQ? How can I raise an emotionally well-adjusted child? And what influence can I possibly have in my child's moral growth? Every time she is asked these questions, Dr. Gross states the same thing. Parents hold the power. Many parents have been told that their child needs flashcards and special classes and this and this and this, but that's not necessarily true. All children, however, need specific bonding experiences with their parents in order to grow up and be that kind of person, a good person. Dr. Gross ended her article with the story of a boy named Sammy, who many of us today know as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, one of the most famous and well-known musicians of all time. She talked about how his father started teaching him piano at like 3 years old. And he probably did have a natural aptitude for music, but it was his parents or his father's nurturing and careful attention that helped shape him into the musician that we know today. Again, it was a very interesting article, and it showed that parents hold a lot of influence on their children that they may not have even known about. When they use their influence for good, children generally grow up to be good people. But if they do not, then you have children who are generally mean and rude to those around them. The last article is a article entitled High School of the Future. This article was written about a school in Salt Lake City, Utah, known as Innovations. There are no bells in the school and no traditional classrooms. All the classrooms are bare-boned, meaning they look a lot like a college classroom. Tables, chairs, computers, not a whole lot of specialization in that classroom. Children or students there show up when they want to, as long as they put in 6 hours of academic work between 7 and 5. The school was opened in 2012, and while this article was not directly related to growth and development, it does have a lot to do with this with the subject of growth and development. Each student at Innovations has an individual education program, or IEP. These IEPs take into account the way each student is developing individually. 7% of the students receive special education services. It was a very easy read. It was very plain, straight to the point. And it was also interesting because there are plans, according to the article, to open a similar school in Arkansas. And it was very useful. I think it can be very useful in the world of child growth and development because it showed how there was a way to help those students who require the more individualized approach to education. All in all, this is a very successful article and will help the area of child growth and development in teaching educators, parents, and students about other options that are available for students to learn and succeed. Thank you very much.